Welcome to the Protector Culture Podcast with Jimmy Graham. Jimmy is a veteran U.S. Navy SEAL, a former protective officer for the CIA Global Response Staff, founder and CEO of the Able Shepherd Program, a husband and father of four, and a personal friend of mine. Now here's Jimmy.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Protector Culture Podcast with Jimmy Graham. I'm your host, Jimmy Graham. Joining you today on a pre-recorded session from Wide Open Saloon in Sedalia, Colorado. So first off, I want to thank Todd Hills and his staff for accommodating us. They're opening today, so they're going to have people in here eating. It's a beautiful area. I believe it was the Buckskin before, and they're revamping everything. It's gorgeous. Come check it out. Patriotic guy. Met him last weekend supporting the Patriot rally with my buddy Tig. We had kind of some guys working the safety part of that, and met him there. Joined today by none other than Neil Pinkham, Able Shepherd 014, aka the Sage. What's up, brother?
Awesome to be here, Jimmy. Thanks for the invite. Pretty cool stuff.
We started thinking about this, and I was just kind of going through my head on what this was going to look like. Neil popped into my head, and I invited him. I know he's going to really, really enjoy this as just a patriotic American walking free on the earth. I want him sitting at this table. As I kind of go through my honored guest list, this is the first time we've done this before. We're doing a WebEx kind of virtual meeting with my buddies, and I want to caveat this with... Man, I know these guys as Gary and Scotty, and I always have. When I read kind of their intros, it's just cool to just remind. I was talking to Gary about this. It's kind of weird for us. There's that quiet professional. There's that thing that we know and respect. There's also a new piece that I'm kind of stepping into where people need to step into leadership roles in politics and small business and all this kind of stuff. But we're just not real comfortable talking about this stuff. So when I read their stuff, I'm honored to know them. These are my buddies. And I think it's going to show that this is just regular guys, man. We're just good Americans that stepped out to do something else with their lives and blinked. And it's been 25 years, man. And it's just good stuff. So I'm going to try to keep it together. But there's a lot of worlds coming together for me on this one. Memorial Day, I want to entitle this one, We Have Not Forgotten. This is... Oh, they lost me. So they got me? We're going to keep rolling? Okay, we're going to roll. We're going to get you back. So for right now, I want to just go ahead and knock out their intros. So we've got Gary Ellis, Bud's Class 208. Oh, yeah, 208. SEAL Team 8, SEAL Team 6, 100-ton near coastal captain vessel license. Did the Blue to Green program. Going into the Army into aviation, the TF-160 SOAR Special Operations Aviation Regiment, so Navy and Army vet. I got to throw in airborne. So all of us are airborne. That's part of the SEAL team thing, but the SOAR, is TF-160 airborne. Fully mission qualified Black Hawk pilot at D1 160th. Retired and became a private sector helo pilot. Fixed wing captain for the airlines. Commercial airline transport certificate. Small business owner and a family man. Lot going on. What's up, Gary? How you doing, man? That's a mouthful. And then Master Chief Scott Letellier, Bud's Class 210, SEAL Team 8, SEAL Team 6, SEAL Team 2, SEAL Team 4, SEAL Team 10. Served in Afghanistan, Iraq, Uganda, Chad, Somalia, many other areas. Training missions to South America, all over. Still serving active duty, going on 25 years in July. Congrats, brother. Thank you for your continued service. Love you guys. What's happening, Scotty? Okay, so that's it. We'll see you guys next. No, that's a mouthful. I love these guys. Like, to me, it's Gary and Scotty. So we're going to jump right off into it. I have no idea how long this is going to take. We're going to try to keep it towards an hour. We just got a lot of ground to cover. So I'm going to start off talking about Veterans Day versus Independence Day versus Memorial Day, because a lot of people lump those together. They don't know what they are. I make it a point for my kids to know the meaning of Memorial Day. And then we'll just pick it up from there. And Veterans Day, just for those who don't know this, and I'm hoping everybody knows it, Veterans Day is a federal holiday in the United States observed annually November 11th for honoring military veterans, that is, persons who have served in the United States Armed Forces. So when you're thinking of that is Veterans Day. That's what that's for. Hey, thank you for serving. Everybody appreciates it. I think we should appreciate that, and I appreciate the businesses who honor that all year round. Independence Day celebrates our nation's independence as united, free, and independent states, marking July 4th, 1776 as a date to be remembered. That brings us to Memorial Day. So Memorial Day a specific day. It's a special day that we honor and mourn the military personnel who died while serving in the United States Armed Forces. So that's a big deal to us. This is going to go all over the place. Like I said, I'm going to try to keep it together because there's a lot of personal stories that are going to come out today. But on Memorial Day, that's another thing that I'll just say it. For some of us, Memorial Day is year long. I think about guys all the time. I know these guys do that were part of our lives that aren't with us anymore. And I'm going to end with a note and a toast about these guys. I want to just throw it out there and caveat it with, man, this is a slippery slope. It's a touchy subject because we never want to miss anybody. So when we're honoring these people, first of all, I want to say we're honoring all who have basically sacrificed everything so we can live free on this nation. So that being said, we still good, BK? Because I got something going on my headphones. There we go. That sounds better. Anyways, so for everybody, we have not forgotten, and that we absolutely honor every one of the folks today that have served our country, gave all, so we can live free on this country. So this is on today's Saturday. Monday's Memorial Day. We're going to be hosting a deal out here where we're going to be doing the Murph with a bunch of people. Pinkham's stepping up to do the barbecue and the grilling.
It's my job, brother.
He loves being cookie. He loves getting out there. He's got away with a smoker. I'm blessed to have people in my life. Gary Ellis was one of them that introduced me to Louisiana cooking and crawfish boils and all that kind of stuff. I'd say it's got to be the ribeye roast. You know my favorite. Pork style, country style pork ribs, all of that kind of stuff. Guys, if you don't mind, I'm going to kick it right off with Lance. I was going to kind of ease into this, but one of our, and I believe, I don't know if it is for you guys, and you can share that. But Scott, if you don't mind introducing who Lance was, our brother. That was our first inner circle. We lose guys all the time, the SEAL teams, because of the nature of that work, and we all know what we're getting into. He was the first guy that was in our crew all day, every day that we lost. You mind throwing out an intro for Brother Lance?
Yeah, thanks, Jimmy. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I met Lance back in probably 1995 when we started Buds together in the same Buds class, same Hell Week. Both of us eventually got rolled into the next Buds class, but eventually graduated together, moved on to SEAL Team 8, where we met Jimmy, where we met Gary, and 2 platoons together. I mean, we were roommates. Our careers pretty much shadowed each other for the next 8 to 9 years until when we both made it to a development group, and we just went to different squadrons. But the circle was tight from day one, being pretty much swim buddies and buds all the way up into the tragic day we lost him in 2008. Just the quintessential swim buddy, best, one of the best friends, best team guys, selfless. I mean, it goes on and on. I mean, I'll leave it up to you and Gary to share your stories. Lance was like, he was my guy. Out of our circle, the 4 of us, it was Jimmy Graham, it was Gary Ellis, Scott Letellier, and it was Lance Caparo. It was Scott and Lance, and it was Jimmy and Gary, and that was our circle. And we took a huge hit. It devastated a lot of us, and it's one of those times where on a day like on Memorial Day, you want to take that time to remember those guys, because you'll never meet guys like that again. From where I see it.
Yeah, amen, brother. No, good intro. Gary, anything to add on that or chime in on Brother Lance? Onto that fella today?
Oh, man, always something easy and good to say about Lance, man. Fantastic operator, all tatted up, just a wonderful soul to be around, great sense of humor, loved, so many good people around him. He enjoyed having a good time. He didn't mind getting off the couch and helping, whether it was to party or to help develop a party, man. Just a great human being to have around, and I love that we think about him often, man. Least of all, good Lord, man, all the ride that was put together mostly by you, Jimmy. What a testament to a friend and to a committed friendship, man. It's a privilege and pleasure to be here with you and to discuss this very stuff for Memorial Day weekend.
Hey, brother, quick question for you. What's Green 13?
Green 13.
I know that's a longer conversation, man, but what do we got?
Actually, guys, I committed to buying the green13.com, so we own that now if we want to have some fun with that. Good Lord, let us get to be our 60s and 70s where we can write about it and have fun. Green 13 it's a physical place, but I think now to us it's also it's a captured place in time, man, where anybody who worked in the doorway at Green 13 probably likely had a good time, unless you got on Jimmy's bad side at the fireside acting dumb, and then you might have had something else. But it was a little a tiny place on the water that we rented, and for 2 or 3 years there, it was the hub for all goodness that was away from the city, and the people that we attracted to that place helped to immortalize just a great time and friends and people getting together and putting human hands and effort into one place, and great barbecues and great fires and music and holidays, and even sometimes the better stuff was when you might show up out there by yourself and do a camp out. You caught me off guard with that one, man. It's Green 13 was it was a fantastic thing. I'm glad we all did it together. I know I was right up there on the paper. That truly was a team effort that I will always appreciate.
Brother, I can't say enough about Green 13. Just thinking about it makes me happy. If I could kind of paint a picture, because the city that you're referring to is Norfolk, Virginia Beach area. Scotty was a little more inclined. He was like the guy, when we go to the clubs with Scotty, he loved that surrounding and being around people and all that kind of stuff. And we entertained it as well too. But I just remember specifically certain nights when Gary would just give me that look and be like, "You ready?" And we'd head out there early in the night, just head out there, start a fire. And it's a little tiny, what do we guess, 1,000 square feet, brother? Maybe, yeah. And you could kick a rock off the deck into the Intercoastal Waterway, and it resembled the bayou. Not exactly for somebody who knows it better, but to me it was just this welcoming waterway. We'd be out there hanging out, and then here comes Scotty. We'd draw him out there, and it was commonplace to have Lance, to have Scott, to have Gary Ellis, Jimmy Graham, just hanging out burning wood. And then before you know it, here comes another car, and before the whole club, bar scene, whatever, would be hanging out there burning wood and hanging out. Couldn't fit that many people in there. So, and I'm not exaggerating. Filling a living room up with Gary Ellis is also not on this piece of paper, is an accomplished piano plunker from Bourbon Street, and he would be just entertaining everybody. And literally, there wasn't even standing room. People sitting and walking over legs to go use the restroom or to get outside or whatever. And it was just goodness. So that's, if you're wondering what team guys or military folks do when they're not, serving this country and out there on the front lines and doing all that stuff, that's what they're doing, man. They're living life and developing relationships and brotherhoods. So it's a big, big deal. Dang, man, Green 13. So, tell you what, I want to go ahead and shotgun you guys with just a favorite Lance memory, because I want to take a second and just honor our brother and then talk about the ride for a second. But favorite memory, if you could think of one.
There at his memorial service, because it's the most, I think it encompasses exactly who Lance was as a friend and as a human being. It was 2005, I believe. I was having my 15th shoulder surgery, and I asked Lance if he could take me, to the hospital. And he's like, "Yeah, sure. What time? I'll be there." The big part of the story is that was when I believe it was Hurricane Ivan, Tropical Storm Ivan, hit Hampton Roads and put pretty much a good portion of Hampton Roads under water. And when we got to Portsmouth is pretty low, below sea level. So now we're hitting these flooded streets, and Lance's, sporty SS Camaro, just that was Lance's beast machine, and everyone got to ride in it. Everyone loved it, and he was very proud of it. Anytime you sat in that car, he was like sitting in a car that just came off the showroom floor. That's how well he took care of it. And we hit the main road going into Portsmouth, and we hit some really deep water, and we flooded it out. I mean, I got out of the car. I was getting late. He's like, "Hey, man, I'll take care of this. I don't want you to be late, so go ahead and keep going." So I walked the rest of the way to the hospital, and eventually his car was ruined. I mean,
total
Total, yeah. Water got into the cylinders, engine was destroyed, had to have a wrecker come pick it up. And this is unbeknownst to me because now I'm in the hospital. I'm waking up and there's Jimmy, there's Rachel, there's Lance, and I'm just like, hey, because that was Lance's car. Lance loved that machine more than just about anything else in his possessions. And he just said, "Nah, man, that car's done. It's totaled." And I just said to him, "Look, I felt horrible." I said, "I'm so sorry, man." And he's just like, "Nah, man, I'm just sorry you had to walk the rest of the way in the pouring rain." And that resonated with me right then and there. Like, yeah, that was something he loved. It was something he took care of and he cherished, but it was just a possession. It didn't mean anything. His friendships, his relationships with his buddies meant more to him than anything else.
Gary, you got one? Because I just thought of one. Go ahead.
Yeah, man. Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I had a couple for Lance. I mean, number one, I loved when he showed up to our parties out there at Green 13. And it didn't have to be a party. If the inner circle was coming out, and Lance would, of course, in good team guy and good person fashion, he never showed up empty-handed. He always liked to try to bring something different for us to cook, and I really enjoyed that. And he had a sense of humor with that.
Challenging Gary with shark meat.
Yeah, and I don't think I'd ever cooked mussels before, or I even wrote it down. It was scallops. I never even heard of scallops. There's no scallops in South Louisiana, man. Anyway, I don't want to make it about me, but I defaulted to just cutting up some onions and put some good butter in the pan, and they were wonderful. And I really thanked Lance for that. That was great. But I can't help bringing up what was already memorialized with the boating that we did with Lance. And that barefooting was so awesome, man. Just not a testament to him not giving up, but just his sense of humor throughout the whole thing was outstanding, man, And like Scott was saying, man, he loved his cars and I loved his motorcycles. And I was smiling as Scott was telling the story because Lance called me and said, "Hey, man, I know you know a little bit about motors." And he told me the whole deal. And it's just like Scott said, hey, once water got into that intake manifold, it probably busted all of the connecting rods and everything. And Lance just put that one behind him and went and got another one, man.
That's right.
He was not afraid of the job. And, it might be a dark side of what we're talking about. But for the viewers and the listeners out there, man, the way that he died is, it's tough enough to test yourself and even want to go and try out for buds and then make it and then get to the SEAL team and everything that it takes to get to your trident. And then, as we all know, it takes at least 5 years to make a good rounded frogman. The way that he died jumping those bundles, that was Mantown. That was not for the faint of heart or somebody who's not committed to doing what they had to do, and things went really wrong that day. But I want the listeners out there to know that not only, was he memorialized as a good, strong, tough man and SEAL, that very thing that he lost his life doing was nothing short of the heroic stuff, man. Jumping bundles is a big deal.
Yeah, amen to that, brother. We ended up doing the Lance Vaccaro Memorial Ride. Scott, you want to talk about how that thing got birthed? I mean, basically, I'll talk about how Lance and he introduced me to a movie called The Long Way Around TV show or whatever, with the guys going around the world. Sparked that. We talked about doing it. We put it on the back burner. He went off, to Dam Neck. I went off to the agency, other places, started a family, and it just went kind of on the back burner. It just never really happened. We lost him in 2008. I regretted that. I mentioned it to you at the funeral, Scotty, about that whole deal, and you didn't skip a beat, man. So you want to pick it up there?
No, yeah. It was just one of those things that, we were just in the back of our mind, just like you said, we were looking forward to for a long time. And like, we were just thinking about how awesome an adventure this was going to be. And in the beginning, it just was just the bare bones of just throwing backpacks on and putting a gypsy rig on the back of your motorcycle, and we're just going to ride until we get tired and then just pull off the side of the road and just set up camp. and we were good with that. And that's what Lance was like more excited about, was just the rustic aspect of it. Not doing it in any kind of plush or glamorous fashion, just like roughing it like a team guy would. When we eventually lost him, and we were at his memorial, and I believe it was you, Jimmy, said, it's a shame that we weren't going to be able to do that ride anymore. And I said, why can't we just still do it? We'll just make a memorial ride. We'll just, whatever. We'll just swipe the credit cards and we'll just go big and just, make it an adventure, and we'll just do it in his name. So I think that's what kind of like spawned it. And then the seed was planted, and Jimmy Grant just, watered it and grew it into something that was beyond what I think any of us can even imagine it could have been.
Yeah, that's amazing time that I got to see you guys again. At the time when we launched it, I didn't even have a motorcycle. I used to ride Harleys around Virginia Beach with Lance. And then I remember I said to you, I was like, hey, you said, well, let's just do it. Let's do it in his honor. And I said, next year? You're like, I'm deployed next year. How about the next year, 2010? You're like, all right, let's do it. And we put it on the calendar, protected it. And then we ended up riding 12,000 miles to Alaska from Virginia Beach, Virginia, Seward, Alaska, and back. And Gary Ellis, you joined us. We got sponsored by BMW. I still have that bike in my garage. It's I painted it. It's not blue anymore, but a GS. And just literally once in a lifetime kind of deal. I've been on other rides, but there will never be that one again. So that got purchased. And I want to encourage people too. That was one of my goals today, is to honor Lance. That if you have time this weekend, Memorial Day, or within the next week or so, go on iTunes, because our footage did get purchased by Anchor Bay Entertainment. We raised money for the SEAL Foundation. They ended up making a documentary called Ride for Lance. You can find that on iTunes. You can find that online, and watch Ride for Lance. And it's truly some patriotic SEAL team guys going out to honor their buddy. And I'm proud of what we did. So appreciate you guys. Gary, I'll kick it over to you, brother. You like to honor somebody this Memorial Day. Again, we're honoring everybody. But if you've got somebody at the top of your mind, you want to give a shout out and a little bit of history about them, that's what we're doing today. So can you take it?
Okay. This was a tough one, man, and I'm gonna do a hybrid solution, if you don't mind, because when it came to trying to pick a person, it was difficult. And if I'm gonna try to stay down the road as best I can, and what I mean by that is really piggybacking off of what you said, man. Memorial Day is for all who died, and honestly, as I grow, as the decades fall off the calendar, even the dudes who go way back when America was started, man, you think we lost in the Civil War, we lost 500,000 on each side, man. It's a lot of people over the decades, over the time since America was started, that lost their lives for this incredible nation, a very prosperous and giving nation. So picking this was hard. So what I did, gents, is I picked a handful of the guys that I knew over the years, and I'm going to end off with one, and I try to keep it as simple and as poignant as possible. Near and dear to my heart, the first guy that I knew very well and who died in an ambush in Afghanistan was Tom Retzer. Good man, good family man, and I tried to do the research. I know his family. I know his wife. They live in Las Vegas now, and I think one of his son's guys is going to the Naval Academy. So good on him, man. Tommy Valentine, also at Dam Neck, lost him. He's the first guy I ever saw climb a 7mm rope. I was so impressed. A 7mm rope is about the size of your finger, man. And it was in the pool at Dam Neck. We were doing water, of course, and he taught me how to do it. He was a little guy like me, and he was a good guy, man. I always think of Tommy B. From Extortion 17, man, I know you guys might have known some different guys. I remember Lou Langlis and Tom Ratzliff. Rat, the image in my mind is that you never see him without a smile on his face, man. And he had been out to Green 13 a handful of times as well. Lou Langlis was the West Coast sounding guy. U.S. Navy SEAL national exposure. Really fun guy, man. Exposed. And a couple other guys I always remember. We did some parachute testing. I don't want to get too far off base when I talk about these guys, but it was near and dear when you know that they're no longer around. You guys probably both remember from Red Wings, from SEAL teammate Jeff Taylor. I remember Jeff very well, and Jacques Fontaine from New Orleans. Man, good dudes, just wonderful guys to be around. And I think about them on Memorial Day. And the next two names I'm going to mention, I know both of you guys know them. And I would like the listeners and the viewers to think, when you think Navy SEAL, a lot of the American public probably thinks big, tough, mean, scary guy, full of tats and all frowning and making people uncomfortable in a restaurant. But when I think of Nate Hardy and Mike Koch, I can't think of two better human beings to be around. Just good sense of humor, like I normally like about my favorite team guys. He's very warm and so helpful, man. Whatever you needed from either one of those guys, the fact that they both died on and the way that they did, man, it's on my heart because I love those guys to death, man. I miss them. That was on 4 February in 2008 also. And the last gent that I'd like to bring up is Lieutenant Colonel Rob Baldwin. So he died in September of 2010, and tell a little bit more about his story. But basically, I married his widow, and I'm trying to help raise his 4 kids and give them something that through the years and through the days and weeks that we live and grow together, I think of Bobby and what he might want to give to these kids, and I try to to do my best to do that for him. But a testament to the type of leader that he was, man. On the night that he died, he jumped in a Black Hawk, and they were in support of special operations. There were, I think there were 3 SEALs who died on the helo that night with him. He wasn't even behind the controls, guys. He was monitoring 2 junior pilots. He wanted to go and check out. He had heard there were problems or whatever. Not that we're trying to bring that in a negative light, but he went out there and put himself in the mix to make sure that things were going right and lost his life. And that's a message that I share with them often. When things get a little too, when the time is right, I try to remind them of that, from time to time. Like, hey, your dad was quite the man to do what he did, that commitment, that like, I'm not asking somebody else to go do it. I'm jumping in the seat and I'm going to check it out for myself. And he lost his life. So that is always very, very powerful to me, and I love on Memorial Day because, you guys can probably testify that as we do the day to day and you do the grind, we forget about some of this stuff. So thinking about Bobby and a handful of those names that I just brought up and Lance, and I can't wait to hear some of the guys that you guys might bring up, but it's very, very powerful stuff.
Thanks, brother. That's huge, man. We were talking kind of before this, about the role you're playing now and raising those 4 kids, man. I was about to lose it on my porch when we were talking earlier today, man. That's what it's supposed to look like, man. That's amazing stuff. And then you and D fell in love, and amen, brother. Amen. Scotty, anybody come to mind, brother, you want to honor?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you and Gary pretty much nailed the ones that were close to us, obviously, with the SEAL teammate days, our days at Dam Neck. I mean, we could go on, down the list of names of the 2 greatest tragedies within NSW with, Operation Red Wings and Extortion 17. There's too many names, and it's a tragedy in itself. But the 3 that I would like to kind of memorialize is because it's for kind of a different reason. I mean, we lose guys in combat all the time, and that's somewhat of an easy acceptance because they're doing what we love to do. They're serving their country, and they know the risk, especially in the special warfare community. It's kind of a given. You might not come back from that mission, so it's a little bit more palatable or acceptable for us to understand that one. Training, typically we lose 3 SEALs a year to training, in diving and skydiving and just in accidents, and that's just another hard truth. But the ones that have hit me the hardest recently have been the 3 last memorials that I've went to, and those were for John Hannon, Dave Collins, and Chad Wilkinson. All 3 of them tragically took their own lives. And the sad thing is we really can't put our finger on exactly why. I mean, they had long and careers, successful careers, Two were retired. One was retired, I'm sorry, two of them were retired. John Hennon did come retired, but they never really displayed many signs that would say, "Hey, this guy's having issues. We need to go get him help." So our scores from the war, the guys are still dealing with, and guys are still fighting back here at home. And one thing I've tried to champion for the last few months, almost 2 years now, actually, is bringing that awareness through social media and through different avenues and mediums, just to let people know that, hey, guys have come back and they're still dealing with stuff, and it's something that is definitely an issue, and we need to address it. So with that, I would say, yeah, those three have been the ones that have kind of hit me hardest, because the why behind it is just really not 100% there.
Yeah, amen, brother. The Chad Wilkinson, I was not expecting that phone call, and Scott has kept me in the loop, and appreciate you being kind of the voice in my ear from the active duty side, kind of tracking on where guys go and what they do. But that phone call, when you talk about top performers at that level, turn into that in a moment of weakness, it is hard to explain. I think even more so, and I can't say more so, but Navy SEALs, already kind of put themselves out there and aspired to be something, and then became it, and then looking for that next thing. You guys kind of know what I do back here, just trying to look at it, providing some kind of validation for men and sharing them that experience. Not to make it about me, but this is a national deal, man. Like, people literally, they're not sure what their purpose is, and they're looking for another thing. That is something that's going to be a challenge, even on the elite levels. We're not immune from that. So, like, to have these guys that are out there, tip of the spear, these larger than life figures, that we all carry these things and need that validation from one another. So, man, I kind of, just like you guys, wouldn't have seen anything. Kind of wish I'd have been more in touch with Chad, because, again, back in those first days at SEAL Team 8 and stuff, he was right there with us. So just one of those guys that just used to be hanging out, was climbing the ladder, could pretty much do anything he set his mind to. And in a moment of weakness, we lost him. And I don't know what else more to say than beautiful family, beautiful wife, amazing kiddos, and it's an absolute tragedy. So I hope that the active duty community is really pursuing that. I know on our end, we work with vets all the time, and we're just trying to create that camaraderie, or that thing, to try to get to know them enough to see the signs, like to see people and create those relationships enough to where, and Gary, man, I want to throw this out there, man. I remember both you guys, we've had some really, really tough conversations. Gary in particular, man, I remember sitting at Green 13, beer in our hand, late into the night, and talking deeply about God, about meaning, about all this kind of stuff. And it started generating these thoughts, man, that haven't ended. How do we make ourselves better, and how do we make ourselves stronger? And you guys know me, and I know you guys, this whole beat your chest and try to get on a movie and do all this kind of stuff. That's not what I'm talking about. Those guys are just as hollow as some of the dudes you see, in any aspect of life. Just because they've got a trident on their chest doesn't change that. But I think that guys that continue to do that thing that got us every single day. I'll pray with my kids on please make me a better dad. And they're like, you're the best dad ever. I'm like, you deserve the best dad. So make me the best dad that I can possibly be, because that's going to be a never-ending thing. And I mean, if we can learn from that, anything, from our fallen brothers, no matter how they went down, like I said, if they served our country, they're heroes. And whether they went down on the front lines, it was a training accident, or even, taking their own life. And I know that could be like, shunned. It's kind of like, oh, don't bring that one up. No, absolutely bring that one up. That one needs to be talked about as well. Chad was a good man. That doesn't change ever, on the way that on that ended. So, man, I love that guy, and I think about him a lot. Nate Hardy, you said Nate Hardy, man. I'm not sure what. He's just been popping up on my mind. As we move on, and we appreciate these guys, man. They'll just creep in there, and they just pop up, and you just have a memory of hanging out or a conversation or something like that. And that's one that I picked, and I just wanted to kind of honor him real quick. You mentioned February 4th, 2008, serving during Operation Iraqi Freedom, died from wounds sustained in small arms fire during combat operations in Balad, Iraq. So also killed with him was Mike Koch. So two just great, fun-loving guys. Nate, Scott, like there's a bunch of just good-looking guys that are hanging out, love life, And just miss those guys, man. So I love the fact that we haven't forgotten them, and it just saying their names just feels good, man. I don't know. Gonna shift gears here just for a second.
Nice to see you, Scotty. Nice to see you, Gary. Hey, I do have a guy that I want to honor here, going back quite a ways now, back to Vietnam and Cedar Falls, Iowa. So about when I was in 4th grade, we had a family move next door. They had boys in their family and girls. We had boys and girls in our family. So I was a 4th grader, and Clark Barron was a 7th grader. So we became fast friends. Great to have an older, tougher buddy in your team all the time, getting through high school and junior high. So we were tight. We went through high school. We went through college together. He was 3 years older, so he took off in 71 and joined the Air Force. This was hot and heavy times in Vietnam. Cambodia was breaking loose. Hold on one second, guys. All right, picking back up. 71, he took off, joined the Air Force, and he was in training down in Texas. And about, hold that up there. Maybe that's better. Sorry about that. About early 73 down in Del Rio, Texas, they were in T-38s, and it was a training mission once again, and they were practicing formation landings. And he had said just before that he was not comfortable or worried about this. I can remember all our friends talking to his wife, and he had said it back on one of the calls, and he ended up stalling that T-38 on final, pancaked it on, burned him badly. He lived about a week and ended up dying of pneumonia and all the things that go with a bad fire burning. So we lost him. There were a lot of guys we lost, but nobody that I was close to, because at that time a lot of guys were dying. You hear the stories, but that wasn't a personal deal. Clark was the only personal loss I ever took in relationship to training in combat situations. So here's to Clark.
So I know Scotty loves movie quotes. One came up as I was thinking about what we were going to talk about. One, it's always good to talk to you guys. Hope to get you out here at some point and check out this beautiful place, Wide Open Saloon, Sedalia. We know a guy that we served with. The 13 Hours movie kind of resonates with me, obviously, due to the Benghazi tie-in, the fact that I worked with this guy out there, came home during all that. Don't need to mention his name. He's chosen to kind of live out of those circles and all that. But the guy that depicted him was the John Krasinski, I think his name is, from The Office. Is that right, Scott? Yeah. So we'll call him Jack. So Jack Silva, and I could see this happening on the tarmac. This is in the movie. I don't know how this conversation actually went, but in the movie, they talk about one guy is kind of complaining about what everybody's going to get, and that guy's going to probably get a promotion, and he's going to retire and get a medal, and he's going to get all that. What do we get out of this? And he says, we get to go home. It's a powerful line for me. One of the guys that I want to honor, and I know by definition we just define that, while serving in the armed forces. And Ty Wood, he wasn't serving in the armed forces, he was serving as a protective officer for the CIA during that movie. Losing that guy, we hit it off right off the bat. He was my assistant team lead, so I was the team lead in Benghazi. He was my assistant team lead. Team guy that I didn't know during active duty, but an amazing guy. So we hit it off, started working together. Bub as well, Glenn Doherty in Libya. Didn't quite hit it off as much with him, but did work with him and was an outstanding guy. But Ty just sticks out in my mind as an amazing guy that had a fantastic future. But I know that Jack actually lost a very good friend that day in Ty, and talking about how much we value the fact that we get to go home. Another movie, and I'll have you guys chime in on this. Saving Private Ryan, that spoke to the nation. It was a very gripping movie and all that. There's an end scene when Tom Hanks' character dies and he says, "Earn this." They finish the movie with him, the older version of him standing there with his family as he comes to thank Tom Hanks' character, and basically asking his wife if am I a good man? Have I lived a good life? Basically saying, did I earn this? I don't know that we could ever earn that. But I firmly believe that it's our job and our duty and our honor to live well. The guys that did make it home, I'll be honest, there's a little bit of guilt. Why this guy, not this guy? How do I get to raise these kids? How do I get to start a business? How do I get to contribute to our nation when these guys didn't? You guys know I wear my faith on my sleeve. We've had talks about God, before, and draw strength from each other on that. But that is a big, big deal to me. So one of the things that motivates me, and I think by design, I think the way the good Lord put this on there is every lesson in my life got me right here sitting at this table in beautiful Sedalia, Colorado with two of my best buddies, doing a podcast to try to help others draw strength from those guys as well. So you guys got any words on that? Do you guys think about, this as much as I do? And do you feel the same way about not just us, but every vet, everybody who's lost somebody, that their life lessons propel me and motivate me to live out today and tomorrow? Let's start with Gary.
Man, this is kind of the good stuff from a certain perspective. I'm going to start off with a life study book that I've recently gotten into, and I read it back to back. I read other books, but Jordan B. Peterson's book, which is called 12 Rules for Life, it has a lot to do with this. And while you were talking about Chad Wilkinson and guys taking their own lives and things like that, we especially diving deep and what we did in special operations. One of the things that I don't like that it did to me, and I'm in full circle here, is it hardened me a little bit too much. In other words, it took some of the love out of my picture. Like I can be very dry and seemingly not to care, but I think that was a piece of what you get from going over there and doing some of that stuff. All that being said, the thing that I gravitate to now with what you're talking about is the basic premise of this. Life is suffering. If you're not suffering now, we'll wait 15 or 20 minutes and you will be. If it's summer in your life right now, you can bet your bottom dollar that winter is on the way. There's hope that summer is on the way. What do we do with this information? Well, what we do the absolute best you can every day, and that's how you put meaning into your life. That's where we get, like, why should we do? It's from every single day, seemingly non-significant choices to try to do a little bit better. 1% better tomorrow and 2% better the next day, and on and on and on, to try to live a rich and full life, from another movie that I like. But I think there is a lot of depth there. I think, man, when it comes to, just like you, I've thought many nights, like, why them and not me, or why me and not them, or whatever the case might be. I try like heck as a default to have a blind faith. And in these days, as again, like I like to say recently, as the decades fall off the calendar, I try not to make it about me. Like, well, the Lord has a special reason for me. Hey, man, I'm just another sled dog pulling the chain, man. And that, to me, I get a lot of internal joy out of that as I grow. Not that I might have some special purpose, but just that I might be quantified enough to pull the sled. That I really like that blue collar thinking, that trying to embrace the more humble side of that big, deep, dark stuff that we're talking about. Like, hey, Gary, go out and do your best. Put your mouthpiece in and move forward every day. And as we get older, that might not always mean behind the gun. Try to be good to your children. Try to be good to the world around you. And just a quick sidebar, a lesson that somebody showed me recently was like, hey, why do you want to do what you want to do goal-oriented wise? Like, you want to make some money, you want to do this. And they said, well, ask yourself why, and write it down. And then write down, okay, I want to make some money for me and my family, or whatever the goal might be. And then go under that and write why again. And do that 5 times. And if you put some thoughtful, it took me 2 or 3 days to do it, but I finally came out with 2 words, and I'm going to share them with you. And they are contribution and character development. It's the yin and the yang. It's the order and chaos. It's It's the you and me that we get to go forward together. Contribution, what does that mean? Oh man, you guys know from what we're bringing and what we've done, we can offer everything from helping someone out at the grocery store to doing exactly what we're trying to do to reach other Americans and let them know, like, it doesn't matter who or where you are, where you came from, you're going to fight the same demons as everybody else. And it's a fight that can hopefully be won, depending on where you're at in your life. But contribution and character development, man, character development to me, it just means like it's that those choices every day, try to make ourselves better for the good of the group, for those around us. You know, there is some selfishness in it because it takes discipline, you know, but that discipline can be pushed out to the community and your families, of course, and the good of the group, man. I always like to gravitate back toward, is this going to be good for my family, for the community, for the country, you know, for the human race? I don't know if that exactly answered the question, but that's kind of where my deep thoughts are these days.
First motorcycle ride, you know, it's like we're all leaders and we're all teachers. You're leading me to heaven or hell, and it's up to me if I follow or not. And then, you know, as far as all being teachers, you're teaching me what to do, what not to do, or what not to do, and it's on me whether I follow that or not. So, appreciate that. Sorry, let me give up my
Drink up, Bubba. Eat up.
But yeah, that's exactly what we're talking about. Scotty, what you got?
Oh, great. How do I follow that one up?
Right, that was perfect.
Do good stuff. No, but no, I mean, Gary, you kind of touched on in the beginning, and it's something that I thought about early in my career once I started doing, well, for my first combat deployment, you know, I was a single guy. So when some of my buddies would go down and they had, you know, beautiful families, good God-fearing men, and I'm like, why them, not me? I'm single. You know, it affected me to the point where, like, hey, I just gotta, you know, God's got a plan for everybody. And no matter how many times I go to a memorial or I see, you know, a guy, you know, that we lose along the way, you know, one thing, you know, my wife keeps telling me is like, you know, God has a purpose, you know, you're here for a reason. If it was them and not you, that means God has a plan for you, and you have to figure out what it is, and you have to live the best life that you know how, and for me, that's a personal reflection, to be self-aware of everything I have going on in my life, to the people around me, to, you know, my wife, to be the best husband, to my children, to be the best father, and to my friends, just to be the best, you know, the best person I can to help them out no matter what it is. You know, I remember the saying, you know, be kind to everyone because, you know, they're fighting a battle you know nothing about. And as many times as I catch myself yelling at people while I'm driving, I'm just thinking, okay, well, you know what? That's not the way to handle it, because you just don't know everybody, and it's selfish to think that way. So kind of going on a little bit of a tangent, but at the end of the day, I try to just look at myself and like, who do I want to be? Who do I want my children to see me become one day? Because I want them to be a reflection of that. So I just try to live by the golden rule, you know. I just try to treat people the way I want to be treated, you know, and like I said, just try to be the best example I can for my children, and to be a good family man, because I'm here by the grace of God. So I'm just trying to live my life the best way I know how, because every day is a gift.
That's right. Amen, brother. Fully agree. I tell my kids, you're not in charge of them, you're in charge of you. That's it. On a good day, I've heard a guy say that. It's like, on a good day, I'm in charge of me. Even then, I better go to bed early that night. you get through that day. I know every one of us, because I've been sitting in the car, every one of us have gone off on that person in traffic and all that stuff. And now I could literally, somebody cut me off. I'm like, hey, get in there, brother. Yeah, nice move. You know, whatever. And get on to work, or do your thing or whatever. Yeah. All right, man, we're going to wrap it up. We're running low on time. They got a band coming in, setting up after us on this. I want to go through and thank I want to give you guys a couple minutes for last words. If you got anything else you want to add, anybody else you want to give a shout out to. I'm going to thank this facility for hosting us, and then I'll wrap it off with a toast. Oh, Gary, I wanted to throw this out. This is my favorite cup in the morning. I don't know if you can see that or not. That's my U.S. Army aviation mug that I bought at your flight school graduation, brother. So that felt appropriate. I'm just afraid I'm going to drop it because there's so much concrete around here, so I'm sipping coffee out of this thing. But if I got this cup in my hand and a stick of bacon in the morning looking out off the porch, pretty happy guy. Scotty, any closing words, brother? And again, let me preface you real quick, because I do want to on Memorial Day, I do want to throw this out there and encourage you guys, myself, anybody who might be listening to this. I think it is time, and there's some crazy stuff going on in our nation. Like I said, every moment in my life has led me to right here. Encourage you to take on some kind of leadership role. That could be, you're a master chief, you know what that is. I know Gary, you're a small business owner, I know that, but I couldn't find the thing I was looking for, so I created it. And now we've got a program called Able Shepherd, and there's like 200 plus people in it. And really, it reminds me, there are people watching. You might not think so, but there are people watching you all day, every day, to try to figure out the kind of man they want to be. And if we can get more people living like that, I think we can change the country. You can't make people do it, but you can lead and then invite them along with. And I've physically seen it. I've seen us change our community by a guy stepping out and then other amazing dudes backing that up. And then we're gonna, that's the way I think that we can take this country back. And then obviously, like old school, knowing how to handle yourself, knowing how to say please and thank you, sir and ma'am, and talk directly without all the talk around stuff. That people don't talk like that anymore. In this group, I know several that do. I think people need to get back to skipping the BS, being, with grace, being direct with people, shooting them straight, and then do what you're going to say and say what you're going to, say what you're going to do, and then follow through and do what you're going to say. So I told Pinkham, I remember when we started doing this business thing, he's one of my business mentors, just absolute gold. I'm going to unveil a lot of the stuff in a different podcast, but it's, man, I want to do this right. And if we can't do it right, if it's dog eat dog, if it's business, I don't want to do it. So can we do this right? He's like, we can. I think we've held true to that. So I think that's a way to, there's so much more going on. We're honoring these guys in everything we do. I'm glorifying God, everything I do. And I remember these guys when I'm doing it. And it motivates me to not run out of steam. It's truly my passion. Scotty, any final words?
I'm going to keep it simple. It was always said to me, be brief, be brilliant, be gone. Jimmy, just want to thank you for putting this on, because, once again, you create, some venue for us to get together and share experiences and educate people and make someone's day hopefully a little bit better. Just like the ride, that was something I'm going to look at for the rest of my life, and that was all you. So thank you again for putting that on. Gary, thank you for being the person you are. I can't say enough good things about the both of you. I'm going to have you guys in my lives, and I'm a better man for it. God bless you guys. God bless America.
Love you, brother. Amen to that. Gary Ellis. Now you got to follow that.
Yeah, exactly. Good luck with that. And I'm very proud to call you Master Chief, man. That's an outstanding accomplishment, and I'm very proud of that. I'm extremely privileged that we're believers. I want to start off with that, man. I really like that we believe, because I think that's a basis for a lot of the stuff that we're coming from, and I think about it all the time. It's one of the foundations that I try to gravitate towards with every new I take on. Integrity-based businessmen, no matter what it is, keep it integrity-based so that we can continue to interact on this level, because of, once again, what Jordan Peterson opened my eyes to about lying. I never realized it, gents, but because we have to admit that a lot of the things we do in the SEAL teams, we are going to run around lying because we can't divulge what we're doing. And I would caution them to be careful with that. Even small lies end up really damaging your soul and damaging who you are as a person. That being said, a great thing we learned in the SEAL teams that comes right back around to what you were saying. One of those days in Bud, we all got beat like a champ, man. Accountability for taking what we want to do to the next level. That's also very important. And I guess the final closing words might resound with Memorial Day today, man. Just thankful to be in the same room with you guys. I always am. Always kick myself for not doing it more, because when we do this, it's very good. It's very favorable. It's going to give me a good weekend, and hopefully the viewers and the listeners might get something out of it. I'm always available for any of this type of stuff, man, and I hope we can do more of it. It's great to see you two gentlemen. God bless the United States of America and all the men and women who have fought and died to protect us.
Amen, my brother. Just want to throw this out there. I brought this just for inspiration. I don't know if you can see that in my screen or your screen, if you can make that out. It's, you know, the book. So want to encourage people this weekend to check out, I don't know, we got all this going on, times an entire book, but The Ride for Lance, check it out. It's a great way to honor our SEAL team buddy, Lance Michael Vaccaro, SEAL team chief. I want to close out. We got biker gangs coming in all around us and running us out of this place. Now, we want to thank, we're going to finish this with a toast, by the way. They don't get the Coors Light thing, Gary. All my beer snob buddies are like, Dad, you're drinking the Coors Light, all that stuff. You got a Yingling, Scott? Oh, man, Brother Lance. So Lance introduced us to Yingling. If they sold Yingling out here, I'd have one in my hand. Didn't even think of that. But when you got... right on. When you got that many guys showing up at Green 13, it just became easy. Hey, do you need anything? Even if we didn't, hey man, grab a case or two of Coors Light, and we just kept those hoppers full. But hey, I love you guys. I want to finish this off. I want to do a toast, and it's just short and sweet, but I wanted to end it correctly. I wrote it down so I wouldn't mess it up. So go ahead and raise a glass, guys. Put it in with a toast to Lance Vaccaro, to Chad Wilkinson, to Bobby, to all of the many heroes and their families who served and invested everything that we may live free. That we may live free. Live well, my brothers. God bless you guys. I love you guys. Cheers. Take care, guys. Have a good one.